Guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Danielle with Damn Fancy Creations, and before we get started on our tutorial today, I wanted to give a huge shout out to my friend Amanda over at Concord Customs. She is a fellow tumbler maker, but for the past couple of months she has been making amazing clay earrings. I am wearing a pair that she made me today. Every time I get a pair of earrings from her, I open them up and I just cannot believe that they're clay. They are amazing. So if you guys are looking for more earrings, or if you just need little happies for your friends and family, please go check her out on Facebook. She does not have a website. She typically does live sales, or you can contact her if you have a custom order. I did also want to mention to any of my new subscribers that may not know, I do have a Facebook tutorial group that is full of helpful people if you guys ever have any questions about anything. And I have a patron group that is a much smaller group that's more personal, one-on-one, so I can really help you guys with questions that you may have. So if either of those groups may interest you, I'm going to link them in the description so you guys can check them out. So for our tutorial today, it is going to be a patriotic theme. I had this a patriotic theme request for one of my monthly boxes, and I thought, what is more patriotic than fireworks? We don't celebrate the 4th of July without fireworks, so I just went with that theme. I don't know if there is a tutorial out there on this already. This is something that I just kind of put together. There may be, I don't know, but this one I kind of based it off of my tie-dye tumbler. So these fireworks are basically just the start of a tie-dye. So with my acrylic tie-dye tumblers, you start with the center color and then you go back in and add different colors. So with these fireworks, I just created the center of my tie-dye several different times all over the cup, and I just used one color. I do want to do another firework tumbler but use multiple different colors instead of just one, but I really like the look of just having several different colored fireworks kind of all over the tumbler. This tumbler does have a glitter base, so we definitely still have that sparkle that we all love. And we went and put a fun water slide image on it. This tumbler definitely screams 4th of July, perfect for summer and all of these patriotic holidays that we have. So if you guys are ready to see how I created my firework tumbler, let's get started. Alright, so first things first, we are going to base paint our tumblers white. I like to use Flat White by Rust-Oleum. And we are going to apply a thin layer of epoxy. I will spread on epoxy and then smooth it on and remove any excess epoxy. We definitely don't want our tumblers too thick, and we don't want to have globs on the bottom of our tumbler that may cause them to sit uneven. And once we have our epoxy on there, we are going to hit them with the torch, pop all of those bubbles, and then we will be ready to apply our glitter. So for the base of these tumblers, I just wanted a white sparkly glitter that would show through the acrylic paint. So we are going to be using Coconut Snowball Martini from the Drunk Flamingo. And I am going to apply it with a tea strainer. I purchased this tea strainer years ago at Walmart. Amazon has several different options for you guys, but I am just sprinkling a thin layer of glitter all over the tumbler. I like to apply my glitter with a tea strainer because it just adds a thin layer of glitter, which is what I'm looking for, so that when I apply my next layer of epoxy, everything is covered really well. We won't have thick glitter that may be poking through the epoxy. This is just how I get the smoothest finish when I do techniques like this. And don't forget to apply glitter to the bottoms of your tumbler. You want to make sure that they are covered and just as sparkly as the rest of the tumbler. And once this layer of epoxy is cured, we are going to go back and add another layer of clear epoxy. I typically don't measure how much epoxy I apply per tumbler because I usually mix enough epoxy for at least 5 tumblers minimum. So I usually mix in ounces, but if I had to guess, I would say I maybe use 20 milliliters for covering glitter. But as you guys can see, I have about 3 ounces mixed up because I am covering several tumblers right now. And we are just smoothing this epoxy on from top to bottom, and then I will smooth it on from bottom to top to smooth everything out. And again, when we are covering our bottoms in epoxy, you want to do a thin layer, but still make sure everything is covered. We just don't want the bottoms to be uneven with globs of epoxy. And once we get this epoxy smoothed on, we are going to take our torch and pop all those bubbles one more time, just to make sure we get that glass-like finish that we are all look for. And then after this layer of epoxy dries, then we will be ready to paint on our fireworks. Alright guys, so now we are ready to do our fireworks. I just have some white, blue, and red acrylic paint. I put a dot where I want the center of my firework to be. And then I pull the paint from the center out. This is exactly how I start my tie-dye tumblers. If you guys have watched that tutorial, I do have it up on YouTube. So I kind of do this in sections. I basically kind of divide the circle into quarters and do 1 quarter at a time. And I am still pulling from the center out. You guys will see in the darker colors that when you pull from the center out, it causes the center to get a little bit lighter and the edges to be a little bit darker. So it does create a nice gradient, kind of like a real firework. You know, when it explodes, the center is kind of lighter and then all the colors are on the outer edge of the firework. And I decided to just do 1 color at a time. So I went around the tumbler and did all of the white fireworks that I wanted to do, and then moved on to the next color. And I did kind of leave space in between the fireworks where I planned on other colors going. I didn't want to make it too crowded. And you can make these different sizes. You can make some large, some small, some medium sized. And I've mentioned before that when I do this type of technique, whether it's with acrylic paint or inks or whatever, it always reminds me of that scene in Stepmom where Julia Roberts is teaching her stepdaughter how to paint, and she's making that whoosh, 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 whoosh sound. Like, that is what always plays in my head when I am doing this motion. And the acrylic paint does dry pretty quickly. So by the time you move on to the next color, the first color is going to be pretty dry. But you guys can see that I was constantly moving my tumbler around because I always wanted to be pulling from the middle down. I didn't want to be trying to pull at different angles because then your lines are not going to be as straight and your fireworks won't be as round. So now we're moving on to our next color, which is red. I am just using the same paintbrush. I just kind of wiped it off with my cloth. And now you guys can see a little bit better how I divide my firework into 4 sections. And you guys can see how the center is a little bit lighter than the edges. And I do find that using a longer, skinny brush does work better than using a smaller, shorter brush, just because we want those long kind of streaks to give us the illusion of the fireworks kind of exploding. And now we are moving on to the blue. And these colors, the white I know was Liquitex Basic. The paints that I have are a little bit more expensive than just regular paints because I actually use them for paintings and artwork as well. If you just purchase any regular acrylic paint, I'm sure that they would work just as fine as these. The blue was actually mixed with some other colors because I did not have a color blue that I wanted, so I just mixed one up. And you guys can definitely experiment with that just mixing colors to get the ones that you want. I do that a lot because a lot of my paint, I will forget to put the tops back on and they will dry up, or some I have just had for years, and when I go to use them again, then they are worthless. So I'm typically mixing most of my paint when I want certain colors anyway. So we are basically just doing this all the way around our tumblers. And I did add some kind of like half fireworks along the top edge and the bottom rim. And then I just kind of went around the tumbler and looked at the colors, and if I felt that there was too much blue and white on one side, I would add a red one, and kind of vice versa. I just wanted to make sure that all sides had kind of an equal amount of the red, white, and blue. So I am just kind of going to let this play. If you guys need to watch how I do the fireworks more, which is perfectly fine, but if you think you have the hang of it, you can skip forward a little bit and see what our next step is going to be. So after I was happy with the body of the tumbler, I decided to add a firework on the bottom just so it wasn't so plain. And I started it the same way, just like the center of one of my tie-dyes, and then I actually did go back and add some red and blue. And I just did the same thing, just pulled the color from the center. It's always a little hard to decorate the bottom of your tumbler because you don't have anything to rest your hand on. And then I went in with the blue and did the same thing, just kind of overlapping into the red a little bit and pulling outwards. And then I did go back in with some white in the center and just kind of blended that red and white a little bit more. So this is what made me want to do another tumbler with all three colors. I really liked how this firework turned out. So I went ahead and epoxied one more time, and then I decided that I wanted to add some gold kind of throughout our fireworks. I have this gold leafing pin. I either picked it up at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. I can't remember which one. But I just did the same thing that I did with my paintbrush, basically, which was putting my pen at the center of the firework and pulling outwards. So this just gave the fireworks a little bit more interest, and I really like how it turned out. So again, I am just going to let this play for those of you that may need to really kind of see how I do all of these little gold streaks. But I just really like the look of the glitter kind of shining through the acrylic paint. And then the gold on top just kind of ties everything together. And you guys can see how I am still turning the cup at all different angles because I want to make sure that when I'm pulling this pin outwards, it's going straight down from the center and not at an angle or curved or anything like that. And it's easier just to pull your pen straight down than to try to make a straight line at a curve or angle. And once all of our fireworks are complete, we will be ready for our next step, which is making our little bleach spot for our water slide that is going to go on the tumbler. So now that everything is ready to go, we are going to make a bleach spot really quick. We are just going to use some white spray paint. This one is matte, so I will go back and spray it with a gloss clear spray so that our water slide is still glossy underneath. So we are just going to spray one spot of white on our tumbler and then kind of spray around it just to make the bleach spot on our cup. So I also went and sprayed with a glossy white spray paint. And this is the water slide I'm going to be using. It was something that I put together in Illustrator. I thought it was really cute. So I went ahead and wet the backing of my water slide and I just have it sitting. I use Sunnyscopia water slide paper. It typically will release in about 30 seconds. I do use inkjet water slide paper, so I do seal my water slides with Rust-Oleum 2 times, 1 good time, and then they are ready to go. And you guys can see that this image is already releasing from the backing, so it is ready to apply to the cup. So I will just apply one side and then slide the other side off. This one was already pretty straight, so I did not need to move it around a whole lot. And once you have it where you want it, I will take a microfiber cloth and just kind of squeeze out any excess water that is underneath there. And I will typically let my tumblers sit for about 30 minutes and then it will be ready for the next layer of epoxy. In this case, it will be our final layer. And that is pretty much it for this tutorial. I really had fun making this tumbler. I typically don't do a whole lot of holiday or celebration tumblers, but I am starting to do that more often, and I really had fun making this. I love how it turned out. It was a tumbler like I hadn't done before, so I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys did too. If you do decide to make a firework tumbler, please be sure to post it in the tutorial group because I definitely want to see what you guys come up with, or if you decide to do different colors. And here are some finished pictures of how the cup turned out. I was really happy with it. I like the fireworks, but still being able to see the glitter sparkle through it. And thank you guys for watching. If y'all enjoyed this tutorial or learned something new, please be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Don't forget to catch the next video coming up that was picked just for you. As always, if you're looking for more tips, tricks, or tutorials, please be sure to check out my tutorial group on Facebook or my Patreon group. Both are linked in the description. Thanks for watching.